Hi crafters, this is Paulette. In August 2014, I just dove in and bought some Copic markers. I thought all year long I would be spending my money at Paper Tray Ink for my birthday, and they've changed the way they're doing some things in the last couple of years, and so I ended up spending my money on Copic markers. I shopped at Scrap Mart online, and this is a company that I have shared before. They were the best price I could find online, hands down. The markers were $5.24 a piece plus free shipping. I just didn't think you could beat that. They also had a 20% off discount while I was ordering, so I even got a better break. I ultimately ordered 35 markers. By the time they filled my order, they were out of 10 of the colors that I chose. So they refunded me that. I turned right around and placed an order at Joann's Online, who had a $2.99 special shipping. And I deviated a little bit. I omitted 3 different colors: black, cashew, which was E79, and baked clay, which is E99. I do need to go ahead and get the baked clay color, which maybe I will mark right here. My game plan was that I was not going to double up on any color that I thought I already had in the big markets, because the cool thing about alcohol markers is whatever you already have is going to work with whatever you get in the future. Well, here are the colors that Scrap Mart sent me, and I turned right around and ordered 10 more, and I didn't do too bad. I actually doubled up on one color, which was cashmere, which is this kind of beautiful wheat type color, and I ordered a couple of colors that weren't on my list, and so I will share all those just here in a moment. For the 35 markers, I spent $160.19. The 36-piece sets that I was looking at were running $188.73, so I saved about $28, which I just think is awesome. If I had it to do over, I might go ahead and choose a set, but you know, here's the thing about the sets. I looked at the 24 and the 36-piece sets, which were in my budget. They didn't have everything that I wanted. They either didn't have the skin tones, or they didn't have purple, or they didn't have enough orange or something. So I just piecemealed out my colors. I am visual, and based on doing my coloring with my Bics, I already kind of know what colors I like and what colors I run out of. I did look at the chows, but I ended up choosing the sketch because they hold more ink, and here's why. In the Bics, I run out of these 2 colors continuously and have to keep turning around and buying more of these Bic sets just to get these 2 colors, which are only in the 24-piece sets. You used to be able to get those for about $13 at Walmart, but I believe they've increased a little bit since our economic depression and the war in the United States. So if you do have markers that run out that are alcohol markers, don't throw these away. There is a product that you can get. It's called Denatured Alcohol. It comes in a tin, a very tall tin. I purchased mine at Walmart for around $7. You can put 5 or 6 drops in the back end of this marker, and that will take the stored color in here and wash it on down to the tip. I'm going to imagine you can probably do that 2 times at the least, maybe 3. There's a cylinder in here, and it's like felt, and it's wrapped in plastic, but it's open at both ends. So that alcohol just rinses that color right on down. Well, there are so many different places that you can order your Copic markers from. If you do order, you're going to want to print the chart. I couldn't find the chart and get it to print until a couple weeks after I got my markers. And when you look at this chart, it doesn't look like I got very many. There are some really pale colors up here at the top. This is going to help me choose colors in the future, and it's going to keep me from doubling up, because I did double up on Y32 accidentally. I made a misnote for myself. I wrote down the wrong code trying to get another color. And you know, a couple of these are very similar, and it's because they're in a different color group, and I couldn't just really look at them right next to each other, but that's okay. I will use them, and we'll talk a little bit about why I chose those two really deep colors. And another thing that you can do, there are a couple of very gracious crafters. Suzanne Dean is one of them, and Jennifer McGuire is one of them. Here is Jennifer's beginner list, and I could not find Jennifer's list. I had it saved on the home page of my iPad, but you know what? After those get kind of stacked up in my iPad, I put them in a folder, and then they're kind of out of sight, out of mind. So I was going by Suzanne's list, and I went in here and wrote the name of the colors. I'm very visual, and the name of the color gave me more of a clue of what the color really was than the code. Once you get to studying them, and once you order some, those codes are going to start making more sense to you. And there is a rhyme and a reason to the numbers, but that was a bit above me. I probably need to figure it out, but I'm so visual that it was over my head. So I didn't worry about that. I chose colors that I thought I would use based on the colors that I use in the Bics. I tried to not pick colors I already had, and I tried to pick colors kind of to bridge the gap between some colors. Both of these ladies have very comparable lists. They have put just a few markers in each color category. I would say you don't have to follow their suggestions, but I would on the skin tones. The skin tones were the hardest thing for me to pick out. I've already gone through both of these lists and marked out colors that I think are very similar to a color I already have or are a color I already ordered. I need to go back through and circle colors that I need. I have on some, and I've even started a new wish list. Colors in between colors that I've already ordered. There's also a new Copic for card makers by Jennifer McGuire and Christina Werner, which would be an awesome class to take. I believe it's $35, and it's a 2-week long class. You have lifetime access to that. I spent my money on my Copics, so I'm not taking the class, but eventually I would love to. If you take the classes right when they are having them, when they're having them live, then you get in on discounts and prizes. If you take them after, they may still offer you discounts, but you won't be eligible for the prizes, obviously. There are all kind of places that you can purchase your markers, and so we'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'll show you the colors that I purchased. Amazon was one place that I looked. The prices were so varied that I just steered clear from there. Some other places that lots of other people, you know, I watched a lot of videos before I made a purchase. Markerpop.com, Uzak.com, stampsalive.blogspot.com, jerrysartorama.com are several places that a lot of other crafters who have purchased Copics enjoy. Prices, discount, free shipping. I didn't realize that this Uzak, Sandy Allnock is the video coordinator for Uzak. They also had free shipping at $50, so that would have been an awesome place to order from as well. The Stamps Alive, the lady who runs this site, you need to send her the color name or the color code, and I wasn't able to look at the colors there, so I ended up steering away from that one. And then you can get markers at any of these places. A lot of them, I did enjoy looking at colors at Uzak because the whole line of information was colored the color of the marker, and I found that very useful and very helpful. I even used that while I was placing. I had another screen open so I could compare colors. Sandy Allnock has on her site, and I will put a link to this, skin tones of every nationality you can imagine. And blending options, which will be very surprising. She was using some kind of purples and lilacs for some of the, face shadows, which I found very fascinating and interesting. So let's look at some of the colors I chose. I chose these purples, V09, V22, BV11, and BV13. Not so great, but okay. When I mix these with my purples from my Bics, I have a very nice assortment of colors. And my mother loves purple, so I had to have them. I have marked this one marker, V22, the Ash Lavender, is very gray on paper, which I just think is so weird. And let's see, I've lost my piece of cardstock. Here it is. This is that color, and it's just, it's very gray on paper, so very different. So here are the 4 Copics that I got, and then here are the 3 Bic markets right next to them. And these 2 dark ones do look very similar, but the Copic is more on the blue side and the Bic is more on the red side. So they are 2 different colors. So I didn't do too bad. You can kind of look at some of the other colors as well. Here are the blues. These are the blue Copics. This one right here in the middle is the dark Copic that I got. And then all these others around were the Bics. Here's the greens. Here's the pinks. And then, some that I thought were going to be similar for Copic and Bic were completely different. So it's just very interesting. I chose 4 blues. This B0000 Pale Celestine Blue. This is one that a lot of people outline their images so they're not floating on the paper. B12, B14, and B18. Just a very nice variation. I probably will have to come back and fill the gaps on some of my blues. Really, the blues in my Bics are quite nice and varied as well. And so, not too bad. That I need to somehow on my Copic chart come back in and color somewhere in these white margins. I need to put my Bic colors just so I can look at them while I'm ordering. I've already got a Tahitian blue is a blue I want that I think will blend really well with this, although that Celestine blue looks like it might, and so does this B14. So not too bad. For pinks, I chose this RV52 for cheeks, RV55 just as a good mid-tone pink, R56, R59, and RV69. If we look at those on here, these are very similar, these 2 dark colors, but they're in 2 different categories. One's in the reds and one's in the red violets. And I was hoping that they would go, these 2 dark colors would go with this E27 Africano for like reddish brown hair. And they do. They do beautifully, as you can see in this little girl here. And so these 2 colors right here, just beautiful for that little reddish brown hair. Love it, love it. So I'm very happy with that choice. And these will go, these darker, look at, oh, how delicious. Aren't they beautiful? You could almost make, we need jewelry. We need some Copic jewelry. Okay, so here are the kind of orange and reds that I chose. Ultimately, I had picked this R12 for cheeks. And then when I placed that order at Joann's, I went ahead and got this cotton candy color. And I think it will be, I don't know, for light tones, I think this will be good. For more suntan or darker tones, I think the R12, I don't know. I'm going to have to experiment and just see. Also, this color will be very nice as a highlight. I've got some pumpkin images that I like to color for fall, so that's going to be really fun. I chose this nice orange YR68, R14 and R17, which are very close. There's only 2 colors between. And then R29, which is just a very blue-red. And I think, you know, I've already got some other colors, bougainville and prawn, that I want, that I think will bridge the gap a little bit for those. I chose 2 blender pens. Scrap Mart was out of the blender refill, so I just bought 2 pens thinking that I would use those up really fast. I chose this number 0 gray, neutral gray, just to outline some of my images, and it's almost too light. I've already put C1 on my list as another gray that I would like to have, and I've had to mark this because it looks so similar in the casing in the top to my blender pen that I was using it as my blender pen, and I don't want to be wasting that, so I've marked it. Oh my gosh, the skin tones were the hardest section for me, and I will say follow someone else's skin tone list. I kind of flim-flammed. Scrap Mart was out of some of them, so I compromised, and I didn't really compromise in the right direction. So do follow somebody's skin tone list. But this, you know, it's a starting point, and I will just build up from here. So E00, E95, E70, E35, E27, and I've got this Y32 in here. That was that marker that I doubled up on, so I'm going to keep one in my yellows and one in my earth tones, and I'll eventually use it. I do some landscape and some deer, so I will use it up. It's not that big a deal. I had ultimately ordered this E70 to go with my E00 for skin tones, and it works, but it takes forever to blend it out. And I'll just show you. Here is a little girl that I did that. The E70 and the E00. And I had to go over that brown about 3 times to get it to blend to a decent place where I could live with it. On the other hand, here is the little girl where I used the E00 and this flesh pink. And one blend over, and it was just perfect. So, you know, that's just not something that you think about, but I don't want to be using up my skin tone there so fast. I'll have to get the refill for it right away. So I chose these 4 greens, and I didn't do that great on the greens either. If I mix them with my greens from the Bix, then, you know, not too bad. You know, I've got a nice variety, but these are some that I will have to fill the gaps on. I could probably mix them, you know, this way, and they'd be all right. G99, YG25, G07, and YG06. I just was thinking grass and leaves on trees is what I was thinking, or florals, but I do need to bridge the gap, so I have more blending capability. But you know what? It's my first time to order, so I will just build up from there. For my yellow tones, I chose a couple of nice yellows, Y13 and Y18, just thinking I could do sunshine or lemonade or lemons, and Y32 was that one I doubled up on, which will, you know, I can use that with the yellows. And then I chose this Y26 mustard, which I don't know if I'll leave it in the yellows. It kind of needs to go with, it falls a little bit better in my earth tones, so that's probably where it needs to be. But just some nice colors. So at the end of August, I had an unexpected trip to West Hollywood, and so I took my Copics on the plane. Everybody, you hear people say, oh, I took my Copics on the plane, and oh my gosh, I came face to face with one of my favorite actors, Lawrence Fishburne. Oh my gosh, I just think the man is beautiful. So anyway, well, I live under a rock. I had a very unexpected encounter with him, and I will never ever be the same. But that is for another blog post. So let's roll. Let's keep rolling. I took these 3 sheets, stamped images in Memento ink, and this kind of blank piece just to absorb the ink through the back there, and did some coloring on the plane. I did not find it that easy to color on the plane. We did have turbulence, but I'm not going to blame this on turbulence. My markers are just so full of ink that I just were outside the lines, and so that wasn't too cool. This one where I did some very light coloring and then just used the blender pen was much better. Turned out much nicer, but I don't think I'll ever do it again. The markers were really noisy, so all of that opening and shutting, and maybe because my markers are brand new, the fumes from the markers were burning my eyes and my nose, and I was so self-conscious as to whether anyone else noticed that or not. So I probably won't do that again on the plane. I'll take them to play with, at my destination, but not on the plane. So as usual, if you guys have any questions, be sure and let me know.